What is up, guys? We are back today with another process serving video. Today's going to be a Q&A type of thing. I get a lot of comments, questions on my videos that I don't always have a chance to get to right away. Some of them take a little while. I mean, I'm busy, who isn't? So today I figured we'd go over all these comments and questions that I've been getting over the last couple months that seem to be pretty regular questions. And then along with that, I'm going to be going over a fee schedule as to what I charge, because that's a pretty common one. So we're going to jump right into this with Daniel Elmore. He has a question. He says, how do you manage making a living with one serve being $50? I do them for individuals that need them rather than businesses, and I charge upwards of $200 or more for a serve. Okay, Daniel, so that's a good question. The reason I only charge $50 is because I do them for businesses, and unlike individuals who might give you one, like ever, and then you have to go find a new client, businesses give me a whole bunch. Like just my one store alone, and I've got 13 stores, just one store alone kicks me probably 60 or 70 services a month. So I'm able to make my money off of volume and not necessarily price per serve, because obviously the more volume I have, I'm already making a loop, I'm already going where I'm going. So it doesn't cost me any extra. Yeah, it's just basically on volume is how I make my money. Good question. Okay, the next question I've got is from Kingian. Hey man, so I stumbled across one of your videos and I've really been looking into the process service business for hours now. But I do have some questions. One, does the court or store actually ask for evidence that the defendant is actually served with papers in hand, or do they just basically go off your word? So we'll start with that one. Yeah, they go off my word. When you complete your service, you do an affidavit of service, which is a legal document that even states in there that under penalty of law, signing this says it's true, and that's where you detail the service. You sign that. That's a legal document. Basically, if I'm lying on that, I could be charged for perjury and you know, never get hired again if I'm out here lying on paperwork. So yeah, they just take my word. And another thing to touch on, body cameras. I did that for a while. It proved to be ineffective given the fact that rarely did I have a service contested, and I was filling up hard drives so fast that I couldn't keep on top of it. And I never was having these things contested, so I stopped doing it. It just didn't make sense to keep buying hard drives to fill it up with data that most likely will never be requested. But if you have the hard drives and you feel like doing it, knock yourself out. Do I go to law firms? Get this question a lot. Not really. I have in the past, and there is a law firm I serve for just because it's a friend of mine but really I don't get much business from law firms. You'd think it would be the opposite, but my bread and butter is installment loans, payday loans, that kind of thing. So not really, I don't really go to law firms. And how much do I charge for clients for your full services? Stick around a few minutes, I will go over that. So great questions. So next one up, Randy Mockabee asks, can you offer a template that shows a detailed breakdown of what could be charged for all types of process serving attempts and all those other little details that I am completely unaware of? Thanks again. Okay. I keep myself simple. I went into this knowing that I am the owner operator of this business. I've got enough on my plate that I don't want anything to be more complicated than it absolutely had to be. Simplicity was more important to me than making a couple extra bucks on things like attempts and mileage. That being said, there's some exceptions, so we'll go over that. So for a standard summons, just a standard affidavit, I charge $50. And that's within a 50-mile radius. Once again, that's because I'm usually in that 50-mile radius with literally hundreds of services to be done. So I'm in the area. So 50-mile service, it's just $50 a service. I don't charge for attempts in that radius, and I don't charge for mileage. Now, any service that goes beyond that 50-mile radius, I do charge a mileage fee. And that's basically just to pay my time and expenses to go that far. A lot of constables' offices, they will charge quite a bit for mileage, no matter where it's at. Close, far, doesn't matter, they charge that mileage fee. And that's fine, you can do that. I preferred to give my clients that savings, and once again, simplicity. I need simplicity in my life. I'm a simple creature and I need that. When it comes to anything outside of 50 miles, it's still a $50 charge, but I charge 75 cents a mile, and that's round trip. That's a mile beyond the 50-mile radius, and then back to that 50-mile radius. Now with supplementals, as you know, supplementals need to be served on the named defendant unlike the affidavit that can be served on anybody in the household. Now, with the supplemental, it needs to be served on the defendant because the next step after that, should it go this far, is a bench warrant. The courts won't issue a bench warrant if you served the spouse or the son, or they'll only issue a bench warrant if the supplemental was served on the named defendant. So therefore, if the number of people in the household that I can serve goes down because I need it to be on them, then the likelihood of not getting them goes up. So I do charge $75 for supplementals and $15 for attempts. And then of course the mileage rate applies if I'm outside of that radius, which normally I'm not. Normally I stay within that range. So bench warrants, brings us to bench warrants. I charge the same as supplemental, $75 or $15 for attempts because it's got to be served on the named defendant. As far as details on bench warrants, we can cover that in another video, but as far as fee schedule goes, it's the same as a supplemental. Next up is going to be wage garnishments. Most of my wage garnishments I mail in. I use certified mail and mail them in. Occasionally I hand deliver them, but I typically mail them in. So I charge the same as an affidavit, just $50 per wage garnishment. And I get a lot of those as well. So I go and I do the certified mail. Yes, it's not uncommon to go to the post office and spend $100 on certified mail every couple weeks. But that's okay, that's all tax deductible. I covered that in my tax write-off video that I will link somewhere there. Okay, the last service I provide is divorce papers. They don't come around often, but I do feel like divorce papers have a little bit higher likelihood of resulting in confrontation and that type of thing. So I do charge $200 a service. I know that's drastically higher than my next closest one, but I just feel like $200 is a fair price for divorce paper, given the nature and the magnitude of what they are. So I've just a flat $200, and of course, outside of the 50-mile radius, the mileage rates apply. But once again, typically it never goes beyond the 50-mile radius anyway. So I hope that fee schedule helps you as well as others who have asked. I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by servemanager.com. They've been my sponsor throughout this whole series of videos. I use them myself. With servemanager.com, you can get a subscription to their website and they keep track of all of that for you. You can do it on your computer. You can even do it on your phone, out on the road. At the very time you're doing it, it geotags your location so you can prove your attempts beyond any question. You can add dates, times, who you served right there on your phone while you're out serving paperwork. It's so much easier than how I used to do it. If you click on the link in my description below, it will send you to their website where you can get a 2-week free trial, no obligation. You don't have to put in a credit card or anything like that. You can get an actual real life free trial on it to see if it works for you as it has for me. If you use the link in my description below, it does give me a small kickback, which helps me to fund these videos that I do want to keep doing, hopefully a little more frequently, but head over to their website, give it a look. If it doesn't work out for you, no obligation, but I think it will, especially if you're doing it the way I was doing it with handwritten logs. They handle billing, they handle affidavits of services, they have templates. It is so much easier than the way I was doing it. Subscriptions start at just $39 a month and go up from there depending on what it is you need. Give them a try. Okay, guys, moving on. Isaiah Burns asks, as for obtaining clients, I imagine it would be better to call prospects rather than visiting their business at this time. Do you think that might hurt my chances, or is it the smart thing to do? I'm gonna stick with the old school way. I understand we're in this pandemic with going in, but a phone call cannot replace showing up looking sharp, sounding articulate, sounding confident, looking confident, handing out business cards, and putting a face to the name, the voice. I don't think you can replace that with a phone call. I don't take phone calls near as seriously as I do in-person type of stuff. I would say just if it's a place that requires a mask, go in with your mask, be confident, and definitely go in. Okay, next up is going to be Rocky Power asks, is there a way for a process server to take a list of license plates in the parking lot and find out who the owners are and their addresses? If that's illegal, but they have a cop buddy that will supply them with that information, does that cop really worry about license plate that was given out to a server? Do any programs or apps allow you to get license plates, owner info? Okay, so as you guys know, I am a police officer full-time. Never go ask an officer if they'll run a plate for you to serve papers on. Never do that, because As an officer, if I gave that, that's complete private secure information. It's kind of like HIPAA with medical field. We don't give that out. The database we have access to that we can run license plates and names is a highly secure database, like highly secure database. We're given access to that given the nature of our profession. If I was to run a plate and give that information out to a civilian, I could lose not only my job, but I could lose my certification to be a police officer. They take that extremely serious, as they should. I wouldn't want my personal information given out to somebody that wasn't authorized to have it. Here I'm an officer and I could benefit from, when I'm looking for somebody that I'm having a hard time finding, I could easily run the plate myself and use that information myself for personal use. And I still don't do it because A, I'm an honest person. B, I could lose my job if it ever got questioned, and I'm not willing to risk that. So I keep work stuff at work and I keep process serving stuff to myself. Now, I'll be honest with you, typically I can find more stuff on Facebook than running a license plate. But as far as programs or apps that let you get license plate owner info, there are programs out there. I don't know what they're called, but I know that my clients actually pay us a fee every month, like a subscription to these websites that allow them to run license plates or programs. I don't know if it's websites, but all I know is they have programs that are similar to what I have at work, but they give a lot less information. Basically, they can allow them to run plates to find out who owns the car. So yeah, but that's a monthly fee. I've never had to do it because my clients do it, so they get that information for me. So great question. Next up, we have Taylor Easton. The only way my girlfriend was able to serve her sister after numerous attempts was via email. Is this something that only available because of the coronavirus, or had this always been a way to serve somebody? When my girlfriend did this, it was almost like she had to school the entire courthouse on the fact that you can indeed serve somebody via email. You can, but you have to get permission from the judge. So anytime you try to serve somebody beyond the typical way, you have to file for a motion for that. And so I've done that very thing, but with the newspaper. But I had to prove that multiple attempts to serve this person resulted in either them avoiding me or me not being able to find them before the judge would grant this motion. And they were specific in how I did it. It was through a classified ad, a public notice, if you will, in the newspaper. It was very specific. We had to run it for 14 days. Well, then at the end of all this, it ended up costing the store $1,500 to run this ad, which wasn't cost effective. But the toughest thing with like email, you have to be able to prove that they received it. And that's pretty tough to prove that somebody got an email. That's hard to do. Like with Facebook, on Messenger, I've heard of that before. It shows that somebody has read it. So that could maybe be your proof. Email would be a little bit tougher, I think, but yeah, I've heard of it happening. So next one up, Pedunk Partey. Great advice, thank you. I've been curious as to how this business has been during COVID. Still getting enough business to be comfortable? Are you finding you're adding new clients? Is that a struggle right now? It has been interesting during COVID. It's been rough. We're bouncing back now. Now that my only guess is that COVID is a normal thing now, so people aren't that concerned about it. I don't know, but life is slowly getting back to that normal spot. No, I did not go out and get new clients during COVID. Heck, you couldn't hardly do anything during COVID because a lot of courthouses were shut down. And if the courthouse is shut down, they're not issuing new summonses, nor are they accepting affidavits of service. So there wasn't a lot going on. That made things tough. But now, yeah, back to normal, I would say, or close to it. Okay, moving on to the next. Chongqing Alley Cat, I think I said that right. Can you make a video about pay? I'm interviewing for my first process server gig. Just curious about what entry level pay is versus after a couple of years or even doing my own company. Okay, so I just went over the fee schedule just a little while ago about if you're your own 1099 contractor. That is just my fee schedule. That's just what I charge, and that's what's acceptable in my area. You may be in a different place where prices could be higher or lower. There's a pretty good spread in most places to what people charge. I personally would recommend that. I would recommend doing your own thing because you're out doing the same work either way. You might as well take the risk along with all the money. As far as versus doing it after a couple of years for somebody, yeah, I mean, I would hope you'd get some raises, but you're still not gonna get anywhere near as much as you would get if you just had your own company doing it. That's something I always definitely recommend. So good question. All right, next up, Andre Peterson Design says, be armed. Better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Very true. Learned that the hard way last week, he says. So I agree. If you're gonna carry concealed with a permit. I discourage open carry for serving process for a couple of reasons. A, I think it's gonna make it tougher to do your job, because if you knock on the door and you have a gun on you, I would say most people won't answer the door to somebody with a gun. And you'll probably get police called on you. I mean, no, it's not a crime to do that, but it's still an inconvenience when police respond because you have a gun. And I mean, not that you'll get in trouble for having it open carry, but it just slows you down, slows your day down. It's one of those things like playing cards. Keep your cards hidden. If you have it, keep it concealed. Use it if you need it. Hopefully you don't ever need it. Next up, Two Timer says, if I pretend to be a salesman and tell them I'm with a company, is that legal? It is. So you can say whatever your heart desires to get them to open that door, with the exception of a couple things. You can't say you're a police officer, and you can't say you're a federal employee or federal agent or with the IRS or anything like that. Short of that, you bet. If you want to say you're with FedEx to deliver an Amazon package, knock yourself out. However, as soon as that door opens and you make contact with that person, then the truth needs to come out that you're not with FedEx and you are a process server. Explain what you have for them and then be on your way. So yeah, if you need to say whatever you need to say to get them to open the door, say it. I do it all the time. Okay, our last question for today. Claire Huddersfield asks, do process servers read through the paperwork they are serving? I don't know. I mean, I did when I first started because I found it interesting. After thousands of services, to be honest, I don't really care anymore. I read through and I extract certain information that I need for documentation, being their name, their address, court date, which court it's out of, and I document that. But as far as beyond that, I couldn't care less what they're getting sued for. Yeah, you can read the papers. It's not like you can't, but I don't. Most guys probably don't after a while anyway. So I appreciate all the questions and comments I do get on these videos. It seems like these videos help those of you out there that are trying to either start their own business or kind of start into this industry. And that's why I started these, is to give the help that I didn't really have when I started. I had to figure out all this on my own and it was difficult. So I'm happy to continue these videos. I appreciate your guys' support. We will try to keep these videos a little more frequently. I know I say that probably every time, but with kids and full-time work, I fit this in where I can. So any more questions, as usual, pop them in the comments below. I'm thinking about doing a live stream Q&A. If any of you are interested in that, comment that below and we will keep at it. Guys, keep serving, good luck, keep it up, and you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys.